Okay, so it says that we're live. Hello, everybody. Hope all of you guys are doing well. So I'm just going to take a moment to make this public. And as soon as I do, then everybody will be able to watch it. Now, if you would like to share this out, that would be so amazing. So how you can do so is that when you see this live, you'll see a share button. And that way, you can share it out publicly on your timeline so that everybody, friends, family, enemies, frenemies, can see that on your wall. And if you'd want to do that later, you can do that later as well. And you can share the same way and just start a watch party so that it seems that we're live, but we're not. Okay, that's like a cool tip for all of you guys. Now I'm finally present in the moment because I was making the post public and now I'm done with that. So today we have Fransiska here with us. Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good, thank you.
So can you please introduce yourself so that we can kickstart this interview?
Okay, so yeah, my name is Fransiska Tirtoadisurja. I'm a United Nations representative for Business Innovation Research Development in Paris. It's an NGO with consultative status to United Nations Economic and Social Council, and I serve for United Nations in the New York headquarters. I'm also a local pathway fellowship for United Nations SDSN or UNSDSN. That's what they usually say it. And I also a co-founder for Kita Peduli Indonesia Foundation. It's a foundation for humanitarian actions for helping people that is like survivor of natural disasters. That's about me. Thank you.
Amazing. So there's interesting things happening, but I feel like we should take it like right from the top. So, do you want to tell where were you born and how were your early days in the world?
Okay, so yeah, I would like to uh, introduce me from. I'm coming from Surabaya in Indonesia, and it's not really a big city. That yeah, it's like the second biggest city in Indonesia though, but it's not a big city like Sydney or London or something like a big city, something like that. But what I remember about childhood, that's why I received your request for interview, and it's like I'm delightful to be here because you remind me with my childhood. So I'm a person that I always know what I want to do. Ever since I was small, I always thinking about how to dreams a big dreams. So I already know ever since I was small, I want to be an architect. So I'm also an architect. I always know that I want to study overseas, and I always know that I want to work overseas. It's just like not I have like the sixth sense or something. No, but I always have dreams. I always believe that uh, dreams make us fly. We have dreams is our wings to fly. That's what I always believe ever since I was small. So yeah, when I was small, I believed all of that, and I remember I'm inspired by an actress of Indonesia. It's a singer that always says this: "Dream, believe, make it happen." So I always dream, and I believe in it, and I do my best, whatever that I can, to make it happen. Even though that like dreams, it's not always like a straight path, but as long as we're trying, doing our best, we can actually make it come true. And dream does come true. Right now, I introduce myself to people. I'm an architect, and I'm also working overseas. I study overseas, even though that's not possible because for people in Surabaya, in Indonesia, like me, Surabaya people is not really a person that is prone to international stuff. But just because I dream it, I'm now here and I can make it happen. Yeah. Thank you.
It's so amazing to have you on today, and I feel like dreaming is something that we're always born for, and I feel like dreaming isn't bad. I mean, I don't know why people say, oh my God, daydreaming or like dreaming is a bad thing or in a negative connotation people place it. I just don't get the point of it. So I feel like we're pretty much on the same page with this one. Um, now tell me, you always had the idea of what you wanted to be, and I feel like that's where we both are very similar. I did have the slightest idea when I was like pretty young as well. And then I started at 11 years old. I started professionally. When did you start professionally pursuing your dreams?
I'm not really starting professionally, even though I worked ever since I was 15. But yeah, ever since I was quite small, like 10 or 12, I always hang out with people that is older than me because I always believe that you can always learn from everyone. I mean, if you hang out with people in your age, you will talking about playing, about games, about everything that is normal for us. We just like it's normal for everyone. It says, but I think about how to hanging out with someone that's older than me. It gives me more insights. It gives me uh, what's like what is that like the pictures of how the world is about. So ever since I was small, I always try to learn from everyone. That's what people never knows. I always learn particularly from everyone. I give you an example. Back then, I work to design a hospital. So I got a job to design a hospital, which is I need to tell you that even designing a hotel and an apartment is really different because they have like a really different distinguished specifications. But how about designing a hospital? Actually, it's really different. You know, they have specifications about how much time you did um, from the parking area to the emergency unit. Otherwise, you can kill people. So what I have to do, I learn from the doctor. I learn from them. I learn how they work and how they actually dealing with patients and so on. And that's about how you design hospital. How about designing a slum? How about designing affordable housing? You have to learn from everyone, basically, even the poorest people in the city. You have to learn from them. And that's what I learned a lot because in my city, Surabaya, in the past, they have plenty of slums. So I learned from all of them about what they want in their life. Because, for example, like what I'm doing now in the United uh, United Nations is that they always try to do everything from top to bottom. If you know, we have two approaches in our world is like top down and bottom up. If you said it's top down, usually like it's the way governments see their citizen. But if it's bottom up, it's more into what the citizen thinking about their government. And we always try to do top down, but it doesn't work. So that's different approach that I give to the United Nations. I always listening to people that is like the grassroots level. They're poor. They're basically the marginal people that you know what they usually have like a bigger idea about what United Nations needs actually to do for the world. And that's why I love to learn from all of them, from the rich of the richest and the poor of the poorest, because they have plenty of ideas. That's why if you ask me what I do during my teenagers, I learn from everyone. I try to making sense about what it's like to be a doctor, what it's like to be an architect, what it's like to be a designer or become uh, every professions that you can find. And yeah, I finally decides to come back to my childhood dream, become an architect, even though that I have plenty of stuff coming to my head and thinking about changing directions and so on. But yeah, no, I'm coming back to my childhood dream because I believe that's
Francisca,
sorry.
I think
Am I
there's an internet problem between both of us.
okay?
Let me try. Are you able to hear me now? Okay. Okay, good. You were saying something. Let's continue with that.
Yeah. Where were I?
I don't remember because it just started breaking off and then it just broke off like completely.
So yeah, I just want to deliver here that we have to learn from everyone. For example, if I'm designing a hospital, I have to learn from a doctor. So how about I'm designing a slum? How about doing some upgrading like the UN Habitat usually do? You have to learn from the slum dwellers. We have to learn from the poor of the poorest. So I mean here that what if you ask me where did I start all of this, it's probably from I was teenager because I always know what I want to do, and I learn from everyone about how to do that, how to make that happen. Yeah, that's what I'm
Hmm.
thinking. Hmm.
And is there any project in like particular that was like your first ever project?
Oh, the first projects that I remember is it's not really a project though. If I recall about the projects, it's more into social projects that leads me to be here, because people always thinking United Nations is more into like power, how we are talking about delivering power, but it's actually not. I see what I'm doing here is about to how we deliver change. Like the more you're involved to United Nations, you actually can deliver more change. So if you ask me about what's the project that the first thing that inspired me, actually I worked for an employer back then in Bali, and he introduced me about garbage management, about city planning, and so on. And I was working with a slum dweller, and I sit next to them and listening to them, and they said, you know what is your employer do, changing my life forever. And I'm thinking like, how can someone can be like that, changing someone's lives forever? So I'm thinking about if some when one person can do that to another person, if we have some involvement to United Nations, or we can, it means that we can do a greater impacts to the world, right? So I'm thinking about you were asking me the other day about SDGs. People viewing SDGs about global goals, something extraordinary, something high level. I don't think so. For me, sustainable development goals is more into a tools that's like that we can change the world. Because ever since we were born, we were thinking about changing the world, but as we grow up, we realize that it's not possible. But we realize with SDGs we can, it's like collective actions that we can work together and achieve global goals and change the world together. And yeah, that's what I think interesting about it.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I feel like just your approach to the SDGs as something by the human and something for the people is just amazing. Because yeah, people are like, oh my God, SDGs are a very high level thing, and it's for the elite. And there's so many perceptions that I've personally heard of people. But I feel like the SDGs are just a tool because it starts from within, and the SDGs have to become very local, very much heard of, in order to be used as potential tools for the betterment of the world. Now, tell me something. How did your journey started with the UN, and what are and how are you doing so many things with the UN for the people?
Do you mean how I start or what I'm doing?
Yeah, yeah. How you started and what things are you doing with the UN in like some detail? That'd be amazing.
Okay. So I'm starting from fellowships at the UN SDSN. I need to say that I'm working as a lead architect for 5 years, and then yeah, this fellowship come up, and I'm chosen to become one of the young urban leaders during that time in 2018, if I'm not remember. But yeah, during that time, I already involved a lot to come to United Nations meetings, and I met my CEO already. So I introduced myself to my CEO. That's Bert. His name is Rachel, and yeah, until he sees whatever that I'm doing with UNSDSN, he's giving me chance to work for his organizations, to work for UN ECOSOC, and he asked me whether I'm interested. And yeah, during that time, I'm not only doing research with UNSDSN, but actually I established foundations that I mentioned earlier. It's Kita Peduli Indonesia Foundations. So we work for survivors for the natural disasters in Indonesia, because basically Indonesia is located at the ring of fire. So basically, there are plenty of natural disasters in just in 1 year, and you know what? That's actually heartbreaking for all of us to see people cannot even earn life. So yeah, I work with some of people in Bali, sort of like 30 or something, and we establish these organizations. And that's what my CEO saw in my life, and he offered me this opportunity to become their representative. And he also explaining all of the stuff that I have to do, what you can do, what you cannot do. And yeah, I got that opportunity. And yeah, since then, my journey is starting in become the representative itself. So what your representative usually do, we actually talking about what United Nations see in the world. United Nations can only see at the high level, yeah, stage, but all of us as a representative, we can see at the grassroots level. Some representative can see from the state government level or uh, regional level and so on. But for myself in particular, I always see at the grassroots level how people think about United Nations. For example, I give you example about vaccinate. For what we are talking lately about vaccine is that vaccine is supposed to be a public good. Everyone needs to receive that for free. But on the ground, it doesn't work that way. People sell vaccines. They say that you have to pay some certain money in terms of earning that vaccine. So I'm thinking about, you know what, United Nations have no idea if we never tell them about what's going on the ground. I mean, they probably have some ideas, but how they earn the ideas because of everyone's that, like the representative, the ambassador, and everyone that's working in the practitioners field. So basically, I'm still working at the practitioners field because my role at the United Nations is more into voluntary. So I can have like both perspective, which is like a perspective of the practitioners and perspective of the United Nations itself. Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, that is just so inspiring to see people like that. And, I would really want you to tell something, about the UN because, and I wanted you specifically to tell this because I feel like a lot of people, they're like, I want a job at the UN, and their goal is to get a job at the UN. And I mean, no offense to anybody that would be dreaming that, but it is to get more money because a UN job, even to what I know, is a very well paid job. And I feel like a lot of people make that as their goals, not sharing a very fruitful perspective in the conversation or anything. So, what do you feel like? I mean, if you can say something about how a UN job is and how hard you do have to work for it, not as just like a dream come true. Yes, it is well paying, but yes, you need to work for it and honestly be very, very, I see, I don't know, like mindful of what you say and what you see as the people, because all people are there. They're in slums and they're also in the most elite of areas.
Yeah. I understand that, but you know what? Working at the UN have a certain level of payment, but what I try to observe from another countries. Actually, there are some countries that having payment much higher than the UN itself. Like if you want to seek for money, only you can actually seeking for that positions in those countries. Why should you work for the UN? Because UN basically is this the merge. It's not really merge that state leaders or country leaders is agree upon certain things, and they want to work together to change the world, to make a big change. So if you don't really thinking about making big change, so why should you be at the UN? Because one of my friends said that she was work for the UNDP back then for 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years, and she realized that it's not her passion. And she said that, you know what, I don't really work for the UN because I think my heart says no, and I cannot say yes and stay here and enjoy all of the money and facilities. Well, I think there are other people that is more suitable to be in my position. So she left her job at the UN. Will people will think like, are you sure? And she said, yeah, I'm sure. And she right now moving to Vietnam, if I'm not sure. And she worked with poor people, and she said that I never been more grateful than who I am today. So I'm thinking about some people chase money, and it's up to them. It's really up to them. But for me, it's like life is too short for myself to chase for money, because money can buy amenities, money can buy facilities that makes you happy at certain level, but deep inside your heart, you believe that that's not how you're born to live for, right? Everyone have destiny. Everyone live for one reasons, and if you're not finding the reason and your reason is only money, I mean, like the life is, will be so shallow. And why should you live for that shallow life? If it's me, I don't really want to do that. That's why when my CEO offers me this place, I was asking myself like, what will I do if I'm there? But can I actually deliver change? Can I actually talk to people? And am I eligible for this place or not? And that's what I'm thinking after I'm arrived here. I have to always thinking. So the CEO always asking like, what will you do to the world? What will you do for ECOSOCs to this world? And that's what we always thinking all the time. We're not only want to be here and be happy. We want to be here to make change to the world.
Beautiful. And at times it is that I feel people, they have to like tell themselves that, but you have, you need this job in order to sustain as a respectable human being. People have responsibilities. Everybody does, even if you're very young, everybody has, needs that they need to fulfill. So I feel like, yeah, at times I have seen people just kind of like shush their inner heart up, and they're like, but I have this job and I need this job and I can't. But I feel like just if you kind of step aside for a little, I know it's very hard to say, but it's that inner satisfaction that you have, even with not the big bucks, at least. I mean, that's all I can say. So yeah, I mean, it's very, very beautiful that I feel like the girl that you were mentioning was able to do that, because that's a hard thing. And it's just that people around you, they're like just making you reassure that like, but are you sure? I mean, like, are you like sure? So I feel like, yeah, and you're right. Life is too short. I mean, if you have all the money and then you have nothing, and you don't have just the right things to enjoy that, then
Yeah.
what's the point of it?
And
It's
do you
just
know
some
what?
paper.
Yeah. Do you know what? Power changes people. That's what people never knows. So if you're thinking that at certain point, if this person is a kind person, so I put power in his shoulder, for example, become a president or something, it can change people. Because you know what? People always be kind where they're at the low bottom in position, in level. But if they reach certain positions, it can change them. It try to tell them, you know what, all of them always underestimate me, but I'm in the position that I can underestimate all of them. Basically, they have to see who I am, whether it changes them. You know what, like, you are a kind people. You have heart back then. You have heart for people. You have heart for change. But once you were there in this position, it changed your life forever. It makes you what it says, like, you love money, you love yourself more than you love people. So yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, that is so true. Now, what I would really love for you to right now do is to answer three short questions. First is, tell me, if anybody would want to contact you for any professional reason, how can they contact you?
They can contact me from LinkedIn. That's how you find me as well, right? I just type my name there. And also I'm also in the Twitter, so they can also contact me via Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And secondly, please tell all the people out there about any website that you may have, anything that you may want to tell for yourself, your website or your book or anything that you have.
Actually, we have websites from my foundations, Kita Peduli Indonesia. But yeah, it's just a website for the foundations to fundraise. But I also have websites for Bird itself. But yeah, the one that's operational, that is the CEO himself. So yeah, I can share that probably for you afterwards.
Oh yeah, and then I can like put that in the chat. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And what's the last message that you'd like to give out to all the people in the audience?
This is what I always mention lately. Some people wants to win, and some people initiate competition with each other, which is like we never will win together. You know what? Like we facing climate change, we face COVID, we face plenty of stuff together here. It means that if we face a collective challenge, why don't we work together? Why should we try to work to defeat each other? So I'm thinking about, this is my last message, that we will never win if we just win by ourselves. I mean, if one person's lose, it means everybody's lose. So we have to win together in order to make change. So just remember that we have to believe that everyone should to win. We have to make everyone as a winner. That's from
Yeah,
me.
I feel like what she means to say is to co-create and to always work hard such that it is a win-win situation in your life always.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. It was amazing having you on, Francisca. Honestly, it's like I'm so inspired by a young lady like you. Thank you so much, everybody who, took some time and commented or maybe shared out. If you didn't share out, you still can do so and start a watch party if you are doing that later. So it's live on your page. That would be fun. Right? Thank you so much for amending this broadcast and we'll come with more interesting guests just like Francisca.